Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. When I make arguments, when I'm talking about Flock AI-powered surveillance cameras, I try to keep them as general arguments, not as CISO arguments. So a general argument is an argument that I believe, if done properly, will work on a lot of the population. A CISO argument is an argument that may work really well on this person without a lot of effort, but it will have the exact opposite effect if I use it on somebody else. So I'll give you an example. A generalized argument could be an argument where I say that in Austin, after having these cameras up for a good period of time, it cost over $7,000 per arrest and it had a less than 0.2% effectiveness rate, which is horrible. And now they want to spend $2 million of your money on it. A CISO argument would be these cameras are being used by ICE. What's the difference between these two? The first argument is an argument where, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, it doesn't work. If you were to spend the exact same amount of money that you were to spend on those cameras, on hiring actual police officers and putting them in areas of crime, scientifically and statistically speaking, you would be much better off. Whereas the second argument, I don't have to look into statistics. I don't have to do a lot of work. But if I'm talking to somebody that I know that thinks that borders are silly and legal immigration is not an issue, the moment I say that these cameras help ICE, I have my argument. I'm done. I've landed my argument. However, if I'm speaking to somebody who thinks illegal immigration is a bad thing, they may not even know what Flock is, but they may now think, oh, wow, that's a great thing. These help ICE. Don't threaten me with a good time. And they'll look it up and go to their local city council town hall meeting and vote and ask their representatives to vote in favor of it. So a CISO argument is an argument that works really well in this person, but will immediately be undone when you speak to somebody who has the opposite politics. A general argument is an argument that's going to work across the board. I've always tried to stick to the arguments that work across the board. Here is the actual effectiveness rate of these. Here is what politicians are saying. Here's this person saying you have no expectation of privacy when driving a stolen vehicle, who's making the assumption that every single person driving has a stolen vehicle. That's not the way the whole innocent until proven guilty thing works. But anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because I feel like I'm being baited into making one of the CISO arguments, and I can't help myself. I'm making this because I've gotten a lot of emails asking about this since Mamdani won the election. There is somebody in Nassau County, Executive Bruce Blakeman, and there were a bunch of news articles coming out about him. New York City suburb makes major security move by city border after Mamdani victory, talks like he's pro-criminal. We're doing everything necessary to make sure that Nassau County is safe. Okay, got no problem with that. Scroll down. In an interview with Fox News, Blakeman, who was just reelected to serve a second term in the majority Blue County, said he'll be taking extra precautions to preserve law and order. Okay, fine. Nothing wrong with that. We'll do everything necessary to make sure Nassau County is safe. We are installing technology along the border that will read license plates, have facial recognition, and have video cam. He also stated they're hiring new police officers in addition to the existing force and the 100 police cadets currently enrolled. Hiring more police? Fine. Go for it. Some of the comments. License plate readers and facial recognition is needed. Track everyone coming in, put them at shopping centers too. 62 upvotes to 2 downvotes. Someone says, I don't want anyone in New York to use facial recognition on me. That's way too much government in my day-to-day life. Tracking me, no thank you. And he got ratioed 2 upvotes to 18 downvotes. Then you probably never want to go out in public. Facial recognition is used everywhere for a variety of reasons. The only way to avoid it is to not go out. If that's true, you should never leave your house. Cameras are everywhere. Don't break the law, and it shouldn't matter if you're caught on camera or not. Besides, it's New York. If you're a criminal, they don't lock you up anyway. So, okay, we're not going to get into all this salt and other bullshit. Let's just focus on what he's saying. I'm going to assume that if you live in Nassau County, which is not New York City, and you're reading and commenting in the foxnews.com comment section, that you're probably more right-leaning. If that's the case, I'm just going to make that assumption. Let's go over a few things here that are why I find it very surprising that this group of people is very, very excited and ratioing this hard anybody that says they think that having cameras everywhere are a bad idea. I lived in New York City for 32 years of my life. I was there for 2020 during COVID. You conservatives in New York, you remember what COVID was like? You remember 2020? You remember when the fucking mayor of New York City wanted to come out with a tip line you would send pictures to if people were not socially distancing properly? You remember that? You remember the fucking governor that wanted to mandate how many people you could have in your house for Thanksgiving? Gatherings of over 10 people are not permitted. Please have the police sweep homes looking for children hiding in the attic writing diaries. Tell your boy Gavin Newsom. You were here for that, right? You were here when the mayor set up 8 tip lines that if people are 5.5 feet apart instead of 6 feet apart, they could get in trouble. And you, after living through all of this, think it's a great idea to have AI facial recognition cameras set up everywhere that city employees can use. COVID-45 is going to be lit. They don't even have a tip line anymore. They can just send a fine, have a little ChatGPT interface. Anybody that's 5.9 feet apart instead of 6, please figure out who they are and send a fine of $1,000 directly to their house. And disable their car from driving too, because by then, let's be real, it's going to be part of this. Do you forget this? Do you forget that we very, very recently lived in a city that was so psychotic that you were not allowed to have indoor dining, but you could have outdoor dining, but it was cold outside. So they built these structures on the street that were so closed off that when the summer came around, they had to put fucking air conditioners inside of them to keep them cool, but that's outside because you couldn't allow people to eat inside. You lived through this, New York conservatives. And you think it's a good idea to give your government the power to watch you everywhere that you go. Why? You're going to own the socialists by turning your own area into a police state? These people that claim that, oh, you have no expectation of privacy in public when you go outside. There's cameras everywhere already. What does CCTV stand for? What does the first C stand for? Closed circuit television. CCTV, closed circuit television. I have cameras outside of my store. I have cameras in my house. I have cameras in a lot of different places. You know who has access to them? Me. Not a city employee. Nobody else has access to them. I have access to them. If somebody wishes to get the camera footage, they have to go to my house and they have to have a warrant or they have to knock on the door. There could be 800,000 cameras in your neighborhood. As long as those cameras are closed circuit television cameras, closed, there's no city employee that can just go up and go, how many people had 11 people over for Thanksgiving instead of 10? Please identify their faces and send each one a fine. That is not something that you can do when the cameras belong to the individual in a closed system. That is something you can do when those cameras are being put up by your government. The difference between private businesses having cameras that they're the only ones that can access and the government having AI-powered surveillance cameras that can see where you are at any given point in time is literally the difference between the United States and China. I don't understand how a difference of this magnitude is not being pointed out, especially since we're supposed to be against the Chinese authoritarian state and the surveillance state. Yet we're literally cheering on building it in our own fucking country, just to own the mayor that got elected in the city next to us. And that's the thing that I think bothers me about all of this more than anything else, is this idea that we just need to do everything that's in this basket. So like Mayor Mamdani is going in this direction, or we perceive him as going in this direction, so we need to go in that direction. We need to take everything in the basket of this direction. We need to do all of it, not just some of it, but all of it. Just because, like just to make a stand, just so I can be on the news saying, I'm doing all of this stuff. Look at me. Look at how awesome I am as a politician to be the opposite of him. It's not coming from the right place. My personal trainer says this all the time. Human beings are very bad at balance. You can't find here, either here or you're here. And it's just incredibly short-sighted. I'm not asking people to change who they voted for. I'm not asking you to change your entire mentality or your ideology on life. All I'm asking you to do is be honest with yourself. Did I get caught up in something? Am I caught up in a particular rhetoric of my time? Did I get excited? Should I be building the infrastructure for a surveillance state that essentially cancels out the difference between the United States and China and be proud of it as I'm doing it? Or was that maybe just a bad fucking idea? Was that me getting caught up in something? That's it. I'm not going to ask you to change who you vote for. I'm not going to say that you're a bad person because you want to live in a safe neighborhood. And you see how horrible the accuracy is. The thing will mistake a B for an 8 and somebody will wind up getting pulled over by the police and held at gunpoint when they're innocent. Can you imagine what would happen if it thinks you're parking in front of this house instead of that house and they think that 11 people went into that house instead of 10? For COVID version 3 in 2045, they'll be able to just take away your driving privileges and send everybody there a $1,000 fine. I want you to think about that next time you hear somebody make that argument that this camera's outside anyway, so you shouldn't care about this. Look what Flock is doing with this stuff right now. They are labeling people in cars, motorcycles, bicycles. They are actually even classifying the different ways that children scream. I'm not kidding. Given how hard it can be to distinguish between the children and adults screaming, please make use of the certainty drop down shown on the right. Somewhere in Asia or Eastern Europe, someone is listening to American children in distress cataloging their terror and screams for a few dollars an hour. These cameras are being used to catalog and categorize all of these different types of things. People that are standing next to each other, people walking their dog. It's fucking creepy. I am not kidding when I say that it is very possible 20 years from now for you to get automated fines because the governor or the mayor thinks that you're doing something that he doesn't agree with. And you're creating the infrastructure for it right now and you're cheering it on. And I don't think that you should be. The next time you hear somebody say some nonsense like, well, there's already cameras outside, so you shouldn't care about this. Bullshit. Those are a different type of camera. The camera in front of my house is only viewable by me. Nobody from the city or the state is able to use it to catch you in a dragnet and then use some sort of AI nonsense to try and figure out exactly what type of behavior you were taking part in so that they can fine you or get you in trouble or arrest you for shit. This is so much potential to be negatively abused. And if you don't believe me, all I do is I ask that you remember 5 years ago, anything that aggravated you as a conservative about COVID in New York, Imagine that times 80. I feel weird for the fact that I even have to explain any of this. And this is something that was already settled by the Supreme Court in 2018. In Carpenter versus United States, the Supreme Court explicitly rejected the argument that venturing into the public eliminates Fourth Amendment protection. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the government's access to 127 days of cell site location data tracking movements on public roads achieved near perfect surveillance as if it had attached an ankle monitor to the phone's user. The court said that a person does not surrender all Fourth Amendment protection by venturing into the public sphere, and I have many other examples of this. There is a very, very big difference between your neighbor having a surveillance camera outside his house and these cameras, which are accessible by hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of city employees that then have a nice little ChatGPT-like interface that will eventually allow you to just type something in like, I don't know, find me everybody that is wearing their mask below their nose. Send them a $2,000 fine. And revoke their privileges to drive or some shit. When a business owner gets attacked by a bum and he defends himself and the shitbag district attorney that doesn't prosecute the criminals decides to prosecute the business owner, I speak out about it. When the charges are dropped, I'm happy with it. And when people try to destroy cars in front of my own store, before the police even come by, my own employees and myself are there chasing the criminal. I am not soft on crime. I'm not pro-crime, and I'm fine with you doing whatever it is that you need to do to stop crime in your neighborhood. I can understand people having differences, but like the difference of 62-2 in some of these comments, and this is just one comment section, but I've seen this repeat itself across many different websites and comment sections where people are praising this gentleman for his tough on crime stance of installing all this ALPR surveillance all over his area, and the citizens are incredibly happy with it. I would understand that if those people were in a coma from 2019 through 2022, I would completely get it. But you lived in New York through this. I would expect that conservative New Yorkers who live right on the boundary of New York City and one of the surrounding areas would have been one of the people who would be a bulwark against this type of surveillance being installed in their state, not being excited for it after living through 2020. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong for who you vote. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for who you vote for. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for wanting to have a low crime neighborhood and want to do all these initiatives, any of that. I'm just trying to plant a seed here. Do you think this is a good idea? I want you to think about the speed at which this technology advances. I want you to think about all the people that are supposed to be responsible for protecting the privacy of your personal data and how that's actually played out over the last 5 to 10 years. How do you think this is going to go when a politician that dislikes you and everything you believe in is in office and has power over that apparatus that's been created? Think of all the fucked up shit that they would do if they have a nice little ChatGPT-like interface that they can use anytime they want to make a query with no auditing. I'm going to throw that out there. I don't think it's a great idea. But you do you. I don't live there anymore, so I don't care. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.
You have a responsibility to me. It's not just about you. You have a responsibility to me, right? We started here saying it's not about me, it's about we. Get your head around the we concept. So it's not all about you. It's about me too.
They can't wait for the money. They're out of money.
Yeah, we're talking about a couple of days lag.
They're saying that, is there a fundamental right to work if the government can't get me the money when I need it? Is there a fundamental right
you want to go to work? Go take a job as an essential worker. Do it tomorrow. Right? You're working.
I am.
You're an essential worker. So go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of the
No, there are people
pandemic.
hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone.